All right, Christopher, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thank you, Billy. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I bet you weren't expecting to do a podcast, in the recent future, but here you are.
That's right. No,
Yeah,
I've been speculating on maybe starting one, but I
yeah,
like this. I like
yeah.
this. So
Where there's only one or two people in the world doing podcasts, so I mean, there's room for everybody.
and there's only half
Yeah,
a person doing BitClout podcasts. So
yeah, really. I'm telling you, it's I wanted to do a podcast, so I jumped on BitClout early. And I was like, hey, nobody's doing the BitClout podcast, so I'll do it.
yeah, I'm
And
glad you did.
so it's yeah, I am too. So, but I like talking about other stuff too. And you and I share a love for crypto, I guess.
Oh yeah, I would say so. I mean, what brought me to BitClout was kind of two things. One was actually leaving Facebook, but I think that was more irony.
Like literally just saying I'm done with it.
2 weeks prior to discovering BitClout. And so I was in the hospital. My wife was in labor, or we just had our girl. It was the next day. And I'm on CoinGecko going through the lowest market cap coins. And so I'm just scrolling on my tablet, and BitClout stood out. Just the name. I had no idea what it was. And I saw the circulating supply. I saw that was low. Saw the market cap. So, I clicked on it, read the description, and about 2 hours later, I had an account, and I was like, this is something. And I've probably spent way too much time on it ever since.
Now, was this before it went to the exchange?
Yeah, I got on probably a week or two before. Yep.
Cool. So yeah, in BitClout terms, you're like a newbie practically.
Yeah.
But that's cool. I mean, because that won't be the case for long, because you think about it, if you're here 2.5 months and the thing's been around 5 months, well, it won't take you long to have been here for 5 months and the thing's only been here for 7.5 months. And he's like, well, I've been here way longer than most. So that's a short-term thing. But
yes,
yeah, and so many of the people that I would say most of the people that I've had on here were here in the first couple of weeks. So it's cool to talk to somebody who kind of, from my perspective, kind of came along late because we have this history of things that we went through in the beginning that we can all, commiserate about. But that's what I love about the idea that, like, think of the millions of people that don't know anything about BitClout, and then they're going to be on the platform in the coming year. And so I think that's pretty cool. So how did that feel like when you came along and there was maybe some degree of a community already here? What was your impression?
I guess I'm kind of a dive in person. And so when I made the account and started following people, right away, I was invited to a Telegram chat. And on that Telegram chat, that really exposed me to a lot of people who were more active. I had stayed active, but I was taking my time. I was just kind of scrolling through. Part of it was kind of really, crypto already gets kind of the bad rep as being, fake internet money. Well, BitClout was the fake internet money of fake internet money. So I was just like, okay, every account is an IPO essentially, and they're all companies with stock prices. That's how my brain's, that's how I do it, because I've been in crypto and in economics for a while. So I was like, this is interesting, and I started making friends, and realized that there was a lot of people who, like the Krasensteins, Raj, there are people that already had a reputation, Mario, and I just joined right in. I've had personal conversations with some of the OGs, I guess you would say, the 150, 200-day accounts. I'm at, 75. So right in the middle, I'm trying to, see who's still relevant, who's still active. As far as I know, there was kind of already been a small first wave. You,
Mhm.
you see people like, man, the people who had pulled out, and so I don't even really know those accounts. I know what, the drama here recently, but I think when I got on 75 days ago, um, I was part of that wave, and I've now been around long enough to where I've been able to make friends that are the OGs, but I'm also a part of these, new people who are
Mhm.
coming in. So I'm building a reputation and I'm building a brand that largely more newer people are attracted to.
Yeah.
Um, One of the things that really has my brain broken is as I tried to figure out what kind of content that I can provide that a BitClout would want, and two, that would bring value to BitClout and the crypto world. Because I just don't want to be pulled into so many places. And I look at my investors, none of them interact with me.
Mhm.
I look at my following, 600 plus, the people who share, reclout, like, comment, write me personally. None of them invest.
Hmm.
So it's just interesting for me because it's like, well, I want to please the people who are engaging, but the people who actually see value in me in the long term are the verified accounts that have been around for a lot longer. So do I go to them and say, hey, what can I do to bring in more investment, or what would I do that would cause you to pull? So I'm just kind of torn there. I have a lot of friends in on Clubhouse and on Telegram, and I don't know if it's a lack of money, but they don't buy too much, but they support me, and I'm here long term, so I don't really care if you buy now. Uh, Screw the coin price type situation. Look at your followers and your engagement.
Mhm.
That to me is what's going to matter in the longer. The funds will come, and so I'm just trying to find my place here. I have an extensive crypto knowledge, and I honestly feel like BitClout at this point isn't full of people that really want that. It's just it seems like everybody's more social media minded, and that's fine because that's what this is. Um, so I wish I could bridge that gap, and people would, want to learn more. I put a picture up of my baby,
Mhm.
and I'll make a cute post and viral.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
put up a post today about Cardano and just being wise and using diversifying your portfolio, and 2 likes. So it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know what people want out there. And being a full-time worker and full-time husband, and a father, I feel like I really want to nail down kind of what my content needs to be about, because the BitDads brand, um, I love that, and it's part of me being able to process my life in real time,
Mhm.
so people can engage on that level. One of the things I did about 2 weeks ago was a meme competition on a close face up that my daughter made. It was hilarious,
Yeah.
and a ton of people did it, and that was super fun. And yeah, so uh, I feel like maybe writing a blog or podcasting about the crypto markets, technical analysis. I love that. Do that. I help people
Mhm.
with portfolios and trading. Um, but I thought BitClout would be the place where that I would be able to express that stuff. But it just doesn't seem like it's very. It's not really lucrative, and no one seems to care too
Mhm.
much. But I'm still learning too.
So, yeah, I mean, from a technical analysis side, you're dealing with, you have to face the cold hard facts of math, and there's just not a big sample size to deal with right now.
No.
We had like 2,500 daily active users yesterday. That, is typically double that, or, or at least 50% higher than that. Sometimes is triple that, but somewhere in that band. So, and then you have discoverability, and you have only so much reach within those several thousand. Then the reach you have are people that may or may not see your post, or may not be turned on by it, or just they're
Yeah.
otherwise, like they just miss it, or they just don't think to respond. So you can't take that stuff personally. I think I think probably the hardest part for any creator on the platform right now is that finally resolving the fact that you just got to be patient. And when we keep hearing we're so early, I mean, I believe that about Bitcoin. And it's over 10 years old, and we're not even half a year old with BitClout.
Yeah.
And BitClout's in a boiling ocean practically, So it's going to take a lot, and it's a gamble for us. It's a gamble for us to devote so much energy to it, but we all see the possibilities, and that's really all we're really working on right now are possibilities. And, I think people like yourself and myself and lots of others, it's kind of like Bitcoin. You either get it or you don't. And, I think I got it with BitClout when I saw it. Do I have some problems with it? Yeah. I mean, I've been pretty vocal about it, and, we just had NVO on here, and he wrote a great sort of, indictment of the dev team. Like, I want some answers. I want, this is too opaque, which we all agree with. So that's not an effort to hasten the demise of BitClout. It's to make it stronger because we believe in it. And we want to see it thrive.
Exactly.
So I think you just got to be yourself, and you strike me as somebody who's just being himself. And so I wouldn't sweat the engagement. I wouldn't sweat the likes or I mean, we all hear this, but I can say it with sincerity. I just forget to look at the coin price, at my coin price. Like, I'll go weeks and weeks and like, oh, I wonder what my coin price is. Cause I reached a point of, first it was not caring, and then reaching a point of realizing it just really doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter at this stage, because we had a pretty heady time at the beginning. Man, it's like people were investing all over the place. Coin price, and I think most of us could say in the beginning, if our coin prices had stayed on the same trajectory, we'd be like, holy cow, we're like $4,000 coin prices and stuff. And it just didn't happen that way. People started moving things around, and it's just how it goes. So I just, maybe I'm counseling you here, but I'm counseling my listeners. You just got to realize that in a year or two from now, if you stay true to it and stay consistent, you're going to look back and go, wow, man, look at the network I have. Look at the content I have. Look what I've developed. I think there's just a lot to be said for that. So I think you're doing the right thing.
That's my goal. Yeah. I try to help, a guy had a post, and he's newer, a few weeks, and it was thinking about, the post was thinking about raffling off all my coin holdings and, calling it quits. And I said, why? I responded, why? And he told me just lack of engagement and investing. And I kind of just shared the same thing you just said. I said, it takes time. You got to put yourself into the communities. You can't expect all your communication to solely be on your own post. You have to get into Clubhouse. You have to get onto Telegram. You got to just reach out and make friends. We're all, most of us all have the same heart. We want to see this place succeed. We want to, encourage each other. That was what I was blown away first with, was the support and the mindset that we're all on the same team. That's not what Facebook's about. Facebook is a polarized red or blue party, mask or no mask type, and I was just like, I'm about to be a father. Me and my wife had just moved to the city. Like, I'm starting life over. I was just turning 30. That happened a few days ago. So I was, deciding to build a memorial of sorts, a moment when I got to look back and be like, I changed X, Y, and Z on that date. and let's see how this decade goes, for me, for my 30s. And so I started making some changes, and yeah, I mean, I happened across BitClout really just because it had a funny name, and I was, and stuck in a hospital with my wife. So it kind of was destiny. I feel like I'm really glad to be here. There's not too much toxicity. It's great, and I'm just going to keep doing what I do and keep plucking away, making connections. One of my biggest strengths is being able to come along people in their endeavors and be a part of that. I've always been a supporter type person. I have a million ideas and a bunch of different accounts, but I'm not quite ready to step into my own shoes fully and be a leader in this community. Me and my wife were youth pastors at a church for years, and just kind of the leadership up front. It's a lot of stress. It just is. Yeah. And so being a new father and going through layoffs with COVID and trying to figure out how to pay the bills, it was just like, I want to try things different. I want to be, the muscle for someone else. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I was like, BitDads. Like, I'm not really trying to push any agenda. I'm sorry about the thunder. If it's that, it's
I wonder what that was.
It's storming really hard.
I've got the garbage truck outside, so we're even.
It's really storming, and anyway, so I'm trying to be myself. I'm trying to continue to further my education within blockchain technology. I see myself phasing out of carpentry into full-time crypto within 5 to 10 years. So I'm doing me, trying to stay in my lane and help others on their way. So I reached out to you because I'm a podcast listener. Well, when you go to Spotify and type in BitClout, there's only one podcast, and it's you. So,
I own it, man. I own the space.
Yeah. I already have the YouTube BitClout Dad. So
I saw that. I saw some of your stuff. That's cool. Yeah, and as you're speaking, I'm thinking about how, I'm thanking God that I was guided to get involved in crypto back in 2018. And, that was at a time when, there was the crash of 2018, as some people want to call it, which I never understood. I'm like, let me get this right. It was 1,000 last year, and then it went up to 20,000, and now it's like hovering at around 8,500 at that point in time. So it basically went from 1,000 to 8,500. I don't know how you call that a crash. That sounds like a pretty good gain to me. Granted, people won and lost along the way, but and then for other reasons, I got involved, and I've been pretty heavily into not the buying and selling of it, but the learning about it. Mm-hmm. And I've been able to do a little bit of investing in it. But now 3 years later, I'm like, okay, well, I can see where that was a wise move, in my opinion. Not financial advice. And because along the way, I found, especially recently in this last bull run, I made a commitment that I don't feel it's incumbent upon me to evangelize to any of my families and friends about Bitcoin or crypto, because it was real easy to do that at the beginning of this year when Bitcoin was just flying to 60,000. And it was Michael Saylor this and Elon Musk that. And it was like, it's going to go to $100 million and all this stuff. So it was easy to talk to your friends and go, yeah, man, it's just, there's not a bad time to buy it, that type of stuff. Then, several months later, it's half that price. And you got people that are disenchanted and all those types of things. But a person like myself, and quite possibly you and many others, have lived through those cycles. Like, most of the time I've been in crypto, it's been in a bear market, and I still had fun learning and getting involved. But I determined that if it hasn't marked you to get involved by now, then I don't know what to tell you. Like, I feel like so many of my friends, we've had many conversations about it, and they still don't get involved with it. And if someday it just goes through the roof like we've never witnessed before, and they ever ask me, well, why didn't you tell me to buy it? I'm going to just tell them flat out, it's not my job to tell you. We've talked about it. It's in the news all the time. Yeah. If you haven't finally like decided, okay, I'm going to check into this, well, then I can't help you, because I felt pretty bad for the 2 or 3 people that I spoke pretty, how should I put it, enthusiastically to during the height of the last, bull run back early this year. I thought, man, I'm not doing that anymore. I'll let CNBC do that, or whoever else, or Schiller's on YouTube, but it's not my job. I've got seriously close family that I've had like really frank discussions, but I'm talking about like immediate family. And I'm like, that's the extent of it. Like, that's the amount of people I'm going to talk to about it. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, but still, all that aside, I can look back 3 years later and go, I'm glad I made some certain investments in it. Like, they paid off, and, I'm better off than I was. I'm not like crypto rich or any of that sort of stuff. But point being, I try to apply that to BitClout and say, whatever I'm doing now, I feel like in 2 to 3 years, I'm going to look back and go, man, I'm really glad I did that.
That's good.
That doesn't mean BitClout's even going to be here, because I believe God leads you to places and has a plan for you. And then you find out later what that was. And if you follow, with some truth, then you always look back and go, wow, I'm glad I did that. And that's quite frankly how I got to crypto. And it was something completely different. It was another project someone asked me to come along and help on. And I prayed about it, thought about it, told my wife, I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this project that had zero money involved and was probably going to mean me paying money and in time. And I said, I'm going to do it. I don't know why I'm doing it. I just know I'm led to do it, and it'll be revealed later. And then that was the journey that got me here, because it led me into several other things that it evolved. So anyway, but I just feel like if you take that approach, then several years later, you're going to go, wow, I'm really glad I did that. And it takes that investment in time and energy to ever pay off, because otherwise you'll never get anywhere.
That's
so
good.
I applaud you for that.
I'm glad to share. No, I'm glad you shared that. I really need to hear it, because when I got involved and started doing the studying, and never really had, the ability to put much in, still haven't. I mean, I've made a couple deposits in BitClout, but, a year, over, almost 2 years, it's like, okay, maybe the best investment this whole time was the education. Some of that stuff is coming back around. It's like, okay, that was a bad call. Or I like to document everything. I like numbers. I'm a carpenter. I just work with numbers, love documenting. And I see that some of the times when I thought I was making the right move, it didn't pan out to be in the long run. And so I kind of started doing this opposite thing, where if I feel, emotionally driven, and if I really feel strongly about a certain thing, I take some time to pray and entertain the opposite, and allow my brain to be like, well, what would the opposite look like? And that's led me to some interesting places. I was helping friends, make some decent income, leveraging on Bybit. And I thought that was for me, and I learned a really good, hard lesson. And it's that I manage others' money much better than I manage my own. so it shows that I got it. Mm-hmm. It's just when I get involved myself, and when I and this kind of all came back for me to a spiritual principle. If I treat the money like it's not mine to begin with, I do so much better with that. And then it showed me, well, all of the wealth is the Lord's anyway. So if I go to work and I work for Him, why do I not trade my assets for Him? And so I started to tell myself that this isn't my money. This isn't my money. And that's when I would just do so much better, not just with leveraging, but just deciding to hold this and I think this is a good dip, so I'm gonna swap into this, or this pairing right now is really is hot, so I'm gonna take some profits from this side and this side, and it was all for fun and for friends until I realized looking through my notes and going back and fact checking myself, or being like, how did those things play out? And I realized that I had, I felt like I had a gift. Like the door was open for a reason, when I first got in, and I am a trend spotter. And so for me, it's all like the real practical. It's not so much the monetary for me at the moment because of, having a kid and moving, and, she was in the hospital for way too long and thought we were going to lose her. And so just a lot of bills, and it's not the time right now for me to put in. But that doesn't, every day that it wasn't the time, I wasn't ignoring the world. I was constantly learning and, working on my own DAP, and just learning, because I knew in my heart that I believed in my heart that there'd become a time when blockchain was so relevant that the people would come to me. I didn't have to evangelize that I made enough posts, just generalized, that people knew, the new t-shirt I'm promoting. And I put my wife, hey, she really knows me. I just, little things, they know where to find me. And that's where I get, the goosebumps is, I was, at 9 years old, my parents gave me away to foster care. Really rough life. Really lived the victim mindset. What can I get for free? What can I do? Just luckily I was adopted and things started to change. And my birth, being 9, I still know my birth family pretty well. And I had to remove myself completely because of the drugs and addiction. And I see them, I just see poverty, and I want to do my best to help with, help people to manage their money, to not live in this place of the paycheck to paycheck. And that's not because you can't not do it. It's in the brain. So if you think that there'll never be enough, you'll spend your money like there's never enough. If you think that this is the moment, and you have to grasp it for everything it's worth, you hinder yourself from ever being able to think long term. I mean, I'm 30 and I'm still trying to retrain my brain to think past a week, a month. I just made a 5-year plan. Like, that was so foreign to me to think 5 years out, because I lived in flight or fight mode for so many years. I had to live and protect myself and my sisters from so many people that I developed addictions to food because I thought there was never going to be enough food. That comes from being a kid and not being fed. These things that were ingrained in me. And so now I just want to be able to have some answers and insight for when the people in my life that I do care about and they want to change their life, that there is at this point still an opportunity for people that are average Joes in the financial world to be something else in a decade. That's huge potential. It could all flop, but also making $500 a week can change your life if you're a good steward with that and put $10 away for the next 10 years. Right. So that's really, that gets me, because I rub shoulders with the common man. I rub shoulders with the broken, and they say, man, that could really change my life. And it's the same thing, like you said, that you at some point you just kind of shut up, because if they've heard you, they've seen it on, if they're not getting into it, that's on them. Like I always hear the same thing. Well, I just really know nothing about it. Well, you're telling me you trust me. If you trust me, I know something about it. Like, I want to bridge the gap for the people that don't have the time, or they don't want to do the deep research, because blockchain technology is just mind-blowing. It's so countercultural to how, the way we process and store data, all of it, like, is just not the way we've been trained. And so, people do get overwhelmed. And my thing is just put your toes in, look at these couple, and just get back with me, and like, I'll help you. And so I just try to walk alongside people that want to change their lives. And I've helped. I did. I'm so happy. My buddy, he's 26 years old. He was living with his parents. He came to me in November and said, I want to buy a house, 20% down cash. I have a decent amount of savings, but I can't do it. Can crypto get me there? I said it can. He closed on it in June with 20% down cash as a 26-year-old.
Wow.
And we got him out right in May. The crash came in May 19th. So he liquidated most in May, and that was not like insight from above. It was just I felt it. I just felt it. We were, really riding good, and he had what he needed. And I said, I think it's time. But everybody's saying it's going so much higher. Everybody's saying, we're gonna hit triple, 6 digits this year. I was like, let's look at your goals. You're ready. You're ready to do what you wanted to do. And that he looked back, and he's just so thankful that he's sitting in his home, and he didn't get rid of all of it. And I would never tell someone to ever do so outside of needing to feed their family. But he met his goal, and like, that's the one great memory and story that I have for helping someone was, and he was someone I knew from years and years ago. He kind of fell out of the faith and did his own thing, but he reached out to me and said, "Hey, like a month ago, you had a post on Facebook about crypto. Are you still into that?" And I was like, "Well, hello, stranger." Yeah. Someone did notice. So I know that, once a month making a post about it, people know. So, if it comes around to be a much more mainstream thing, like you and I would, I think, agree, like, as we just keep seeing the fundamentals get so bullish with different corporations, institutions, and the prices, I don't get hung up on the price in the moment. And I'm trying now to figure out how I can help the BitClout community understand that it doesn't matter how incredible Diamond Hands is or the developers are. When the bear market hits strong, BitClout will be affected 100%.
Yeah.
And no one wants to believe it. No one wants to believe it.
Yeah, and that's true. And I occasionally I have talked a bit about that in clubhouse rooms, because what we have is this creator economy. We have this community of people that are, many of whom have joined because all they want to do is create, and they see an opportunity to be able to monetize their creation, which for an artist is highly important. Yeah. And I've been there. Like, a big portion of my career has been in that same boat. So they come to the platform completely unarmed to know anything about crypto, how it works, how blockchain works, how investing works, how any of these things work. And coincidentally, they come in side by side with sharks and investors and people that are just completely money driven, and you have the full spectrum. And it's almost scary sometimes to hear. I mean, we used to have a lot of discussion in the very early days of BitClout, where people were completely mad if you sold their coin, and also mad and people were like, they would be skewered if they sold their creator coin. And this was before some of the tools that have been provided with BitClout now, where you can, I'm trying to remember some of the fundamentals now that we used to not be able to send creator coins to each other. We used to not be able to send clout to each other. I mean, I'm losing ground on some of this, but it was just really prohibitive. And I talked about it a lot on this podcast. I'm like, why am I doing this? If people are, if it's all about your coin price, but you're the person that should be most able to benefit from your coin price. And the way people were acting was, you're the last person who should benefit from it. And it just got really crazy. Like, I would listen to countless discussions from people, and they just couldn't comprehend that you need to make some money in this thing. So, some changes were made, and so here we are. But it made me realize that people don't get they've come into this platform, they don't understand the economics and both sides of this coin. So that's been very interesting to watch. And I think people have watched enough things happen where they've become more aware, and you don't hear those discussions as much. But it's
Yeah.
still going to happen because there's going to be more and more people joining the platform, and maybe the platform conforms a little differently to allow for, things to happen that, give us tools to build. So it's been so interesting to watch, and, because crypto is so different, the average person just doesn't get it. And then you throw people into this thing, it's mind blowing. So, and I think people like you and I, we're just these odd ducks. We're like this chosen group of people that we just get it. We get crypto.
Yeah.
We get the whole thing for various reasons. And we're going to be a minority for a long, long time, maybe forever. Maybe we'll just be the geeks of crypto.
Yeah.
Because ultimately it has to be something where people are adopting and aren't even aware of it, and they won't even care about crypto. It's like I had a discussion the other night about NFTs at dinner with some friends, and one of them was like, "Well, NFTs are going to be going away in the next 6 months." And I was like, I don't think I agree. I said, in fact, I think within the next 6 months to a year, you're going to be using NFTs and you're not even going to know it.
Insurance plans run on smart contracts.
I was like, they were like, how do you mean? And I started naming all these different ways that things can be turned into tokens and and used in ways that we haven't comprehended. And they were like, you really think so? I was like, oh, I know so. But they just don't. And I said, but the point is, you won't need to know you're using an NFT. You shouldn't care. But the fact is, you're going to be using them, and you're going to see new things that we've never comprehended in the way, especially young people. Like you're far younger than me, and you come from that gamer generation, and you're far closer to that, mobile native type generation that has never known a world without an iPhone type of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm always, and I see this on BitClout a lot. I'm constantly amazed at the youth that comes along in BitClout, and I can see that they look at something like BitClout. We've seen this with some very young developers, where it's like they just look at it and it's just clear to them, like, oh, all we have to do is this. We can create this on this blockchain, and it's so like natural. Whereas an older person like me is like, I got to spend a month analyzing it and trying to consider things, and I still will never hit the mark. So I recognize there's a generational difference, and you couple all of that with AI and education and mobile native and digital native generations. I'm an older person, and I'm in my 50s, but I feel like I'm more technically involved than the average person my age. And I feel like I have to be. Like, I feel like if I continue to try and stay engaged with it, I can thrive in my senior citizen years, knowing what's happening and staying with it, instead of, because what we are witnessing today is nothing compared to what we're going to witness in 20 years technologically. And I think, I'll be in my 70s or 80s, at some point in the future, and I don't want to be looking around like, I don't know what the hell's going on. And I think there's going to be a lot of people my age they're going to be completely lost, and the world's going to be, owned by the young geeks. So, and I use that term affectionately, but it's just the fact of life. And so, I think you're certainly, you talk about, you just turned 30. Well, let me tell you, that's young, and you're just starting, and man, you got and I applaud you now that you've sort of come to these realizations about investing and learning, and because it's going to pay off. And by the time you're 40, you'll be a whole different thing,
I have to, having my daughter made me realize how long, how long life is. Cause I go to work and I beat my body up every day, and I come home so exhausted, and after being in crypto for so long, it wears on me that I could, potentially be doing what I love and developing and being at a laptop and doing technical analysis and helping people manage assets. And I just realized, like, that's all to come. And like, if I want 2 years ago, I honestly had an expectation that I was going to semi-retire 2 days ago. when I turned 30, because that's what crypto would do. And it would have been possible had the capital been there, but even at a 2 or 3x of Bitcoin, you have to have a lot of money to be able to retire. Yeah. So my expectations weren't met. And I had my daughter, and I realized if I keep plucking away at this and I make goals and I keep following where I feel like the Lord's leading me, in 10 years, which seems like forever, but then I put myself standing beside my 10-year-old daughter, and I'm like, 10 years old is young.
Yeah.
So that my perspective was able to change completely after having her. So, okay, I couldn't retire at 30. How about I shoot for phasing into semi part-time construction at 35 and allow myself the grace to miss it by 5 years. Mm-hmm. So that puts me at 40. Being ahead at 40 and having a 10-year-old daughter, I feel like very doable if I keep plucking at it, especially if we see some crazy, bear markets. Because for us that have been in it for a while, and the fundamentals are still there, and the US hasn't completely banned, we're going to be like, we know what these coins are capable of. We've seen capital flow into these, and we know that these are trustworthy. These are memes. Those are gambles. These are this. And so I'm just excited because this is the time when I spend time with my developing daughter, who's 3 months, where I'm learning, because I'm not fronting on this, the rest of this bull run. I think it's still going to pay off nicely. I think we still may hit, 85, 90. But I'm not trying to get rich right now. I'm trying to learn, because I want to be able to, heaven forbid, at work, there's an accident and I get disabled. Right. I want to be able to sit at this laptop right now and still make money. COVID taught us that with remote, technology outside of the Lord smiting technology, as if the Tower of Babel, for some reason. Technology is a part of the future. Tech development is part of the future. And if I want to spend as much time as I can with my family, we went on a 3-week road trip for our honeymoon. We've been to Ireland. We love traveling. We love experiences. We don't look minimal. We don't have much. We love experiences. What can I do? Because time is the most valuable currency. Time is the most valuable thing you got. What can I do now to make the most of my time now, but also prepare to have more of that time later? Yeah. And for me, that's crypto for me. Like, that's blockchain technology. So that's cool. BitDads.
I think what you're talking about is, there's a lot of similarities to what you're doing and what I did. I had sort of dual careers for a couple of decades, and I was grinding away at a real job and grinding away at my pursuit, which was music and music production. So I was literally working a day job, which I intentionally took a job that I could make my own schedule with. So it was all kinds of weird hours to allow me to go play music, write music, and start a recording studio and production company and start building that. And it went for many, many years like that. And I had to put on 2 hats every day. And I bet you relate to that. Like, I literally had to put on my job hat, go do that, come to the studio and write music or produce something, sometimes go back to the job. And sometimes in the day I'd do, change hats 3 times. But for a long time, I felt like, well, that's not, it shouldn't have to be this way. But I remember talking to somebody and I told them that story, and they're like, you know what, you're like a lot of other very successful entrepreneurs, because the smart ones don't just go full guns in without having some resources and protection to know they can withstand for the long haul. They just go in and flame out, and then they find themselves working at Burger King because they've burned it all out and they don't have any resources to stand on. And so you're doing that with your construction and carpentry. You're enriching your life and surviving, but always with the intention of, for me, it was always, every decision I made was, how can I continue this? How can I If I wanted to buy a house or take a specific job or anything, the question was always, okay, what does this do for my goal? Does this make it harder or easier? And, am I willing to forego the niceties of life and live more impoverished, or Spartan in order to pursue what I really want to do? And it took a long, long time, but and sometimes there were some ups and downs, and sometimes I'd have to veer into a job path for several years that I hated, but I was just trying to stay the course. But life, kids come along, all these things happen. But then ultimately, I feel like, for 10 years or so, I've been like, wow, I'm doing what I love. But it came at a price, it's taken a very long time to build that. But for so many of the years, there were some exceptions where I was like, okay, I got to go take this job to survive. And I'm like kind of miserable for a few years, but overall, I'm staying on my arc of what I'm trying to achieve.
Yeah, I have to remind myself a lot.
Yeah, and I kept reaching this point of, most of the time I was enjoying what I love. I was doing what I love for work, whether it paid a lot or not. And I find myself now, for years now, I can always, like Sunday night, I don't go, oh my God, I got to go to work on Monday. I'm usually like, well, I mean, but I've been there. I was there for years, but I knew I was pursuing something.
Yeah.
But eventually you reach a point of, you migrate over to the things you're loving doing, to a point where they overtake the thing you weren't loving doing. And, you realize, wow, I can't even afford to do that job anymore because I'm so busy doing my pursuit that I love, and it's doing so well. It's just like, it's time to divest of that. And so I'm very blessed, but it takes so many years of that straddling the fence where every decision you make is based on is it getting me to that goal? And you're in the middle of that. So I think that's cool, but stay strong. It's hard as a dad, because you've got to, provide. And so to what degree, like, how are you taking what you're doing and sort of packaging that into your brand as a BitDad?
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to figure out. What, I don't want to, come to a point where it's like, man, I was a lot of wasted time, on BitClout. When I discovered it, now, my dog, I just correlated. We were in the hospital, so it's so easy. No matter what this season turns out to be, a flop or good, when she was in the hospital, when she was born, was when my life altered in it. My crypto life altered in another way. It was consistent, more so the consistent type of research, reading the consistent, same resources, gathering the same knowledge, working on the same things. And then BitClout just completely interrupted that. And then fatherhood completely interrupted that. But it's refreshing not knowing the top 10 and what the price is right now.
Yeah.
I was so involved. So it was refreshing to be like, man, I haven't checked Coinbase in a while. Like, that's okay. Things are crazy, were crazy exciting. From basically Christmas to May was just epic gains, and everybody was so happy. And May 19th came, and then you had to actually deal with some pain. You had to deal with it, and the people that couldn't handle it, they bailed, and so I try to help people that don't understand the fundamentals, that don't understand the long-term potential of blockchain, that, because I help people change their financial positions. I send out weekly updates on, hey, I think it's a good time to buy this, those kind of things. I'm not a financial advisor, and so I do it for friends, and it's been so red since May that people are just really hopeless, and they can't feel, because they see they have the money, and so it is more painful for them. That I get that. I'm not looking at a screen of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, that's not my life.
Right.
So when you see, your portfolio trading at 50% of what it was, and you're thinking you're going to retire in a few years, like, that has to hurt. I get that.
Yeah.
But just stay in the course is what, it's my mantra. My mom and dad gave up on me. Everybody like that. Like, that's all I know is give up when it's hard. That's all I know. It's bred into me. I was the first person in my family in 65 years to get a high school diploma. High school.
Wow.
First. Just don't give up. So I know when I'm at my point of like, I'm done, like, I need to give up, because I am, instant gratification type person. I, jumping from the highs to the adrenaline rushes, whether it be by drugs or cliff jumping, I did it all, but it all came down to seizing the happiness in the moment and how can I get the most of it. Crypto has taught me that every day can't be green. Every day can't. It just can't. And so I've developed more perseverance, and I'm learning that it's hard, and I do want to give up and move on to something more exciting, or move on to something that's actually going to like pay me well. Because I was doing so much research and helping people do this and that, and now I feel like BitClout is in my life for a reason. And every 3-4 days, a $10-15 buy, so 10%, I get a couple bucks. Like, it's not, I'm not looking for my founder reward to pay my income at all.
Right.
I'm thinking much more long term, and I want to do what for myself, what I want to do for the people in my life. And it's to be able to change their financial position, learn to not be a victim to their circumstances, and rise above and change their life. Because I think that outside of devotion to the Lord, for me, one of the, the most talked about principles in the Bible is money and wealth. And it's a double-edged sword. It will steer you far away from where you're supposed to be, but it also has the power to thoroughly enrich your life and those around you, and to bring hope to people that don't have it because they can't eat, they can't feed their family. So I'm about the long term. I'm about changing the mind first, learning that you're not a victim, that you have potential, and when you can convince yourself that, you're loved, you're safe, and there is going to be more than tomorrow, there will be more days to come, and start living that out, then you can start planning more longer term. So I'm in it with the people in my life. I'm learning myself to just hope in a brighter future. It's so hard when you've gone through so much trauma to ever have hope, because it comes at a high price when that hope's taken away, or when the people in your life disappoint, or when that when that comes. And so over time, you get stuck in those ruts. And so I'm just trying to help people out of those ruts and just be a loving guy. Just so I am. So.
Well, I just have to applaud you, and I thank you for sharing. I think that testimony is as powerful as we'll ever have on this show, and I think that's what gives you the power to be able to help people. And it's a hard, difficult life you've had, that's creating enormous blessings for you and others.
Thank you.
Amazingly enough, I know that's hard to hear, but I think that. I think you're seizing on that and testifying to it, and that's extremely powerful. I didn't expect that in this conversation, quite honestly. So I'm blessed by it. So
didn't know it was going to go there.
Oh no, I mean, I think you just always got to be yourself, and so yeah, man. I think you've learned some of the hardest lessons in life, especially you've learned the importance of perseverance and the long game. And you're just starting your journey in a way, and so I'm confident you're in your success. And it's tough. It's going to continue to be tough. You're probably going to have more kids, and it's going to be even tougher. As the father of 4, I know, man, once you pass 2 kids, you're not playing man to man, you're playing zone defense is what I was told. And it was
That's
so
good.
true. It is
That's
so true,
good.
because you can have 2 of the kids, and they're all little, running around, and you're herding chickens. You're like, I'm barely keeping these 2 together. Wait a minute, there's a third one that she's having to take care of, and you're always just one of you's, going 100 miles an hour. So yeah, it's zone defense for sure. But it's they're a blessing. And my kids are in their teens, almost all of them now, and it was just yesterday they were in diapers, it seems like. So it goes fast. So stay the course, man.
Now, I knew, we were in youth ministry. I mentioned, like, we love kids, but I never knew how much I'd be radically changed in my heart. I've done a lot of different things over the years as far as work. I mean, I was raised on a horse ranch after I was adopted. I knew work.
Yeah.
Being a father is the most rewarding work I've done yet. So I love it. I love it. And,
well, I can't wait to see what you do with it. I think I can't believe that you're bold enough to share that journey, because if you're like most fathers, you're still kind of looking around like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
I don't.
Most parents don't. But I always applaud parents who are willing to share and take leadership roles in helping other dads and moms. And that's important. I've never felt like I could do it. I have a dear friend who's excellent at it and helps a lot of guys. And so I just can't wait to see how you package that experience you have, because I don't think it takes you having learned it all. I think it takes sharing what you're learning as you go, and people will come along and want to learn from you.
That's why I settled on BitDads and didn't change it. I've had a lot of different little ventures, but I want to learn with everybody. And if people want to pick my brain on my crypto market knowledge, they'll ask. Yeah. So I'm just being me, and I'm happy. I'm happy and content. And I know my life is on trajectory to change as far as my day-to-day, my 9 to 5. And so I'm just trying to stay the course, because it's hard right now. It's hard being a father and going and beating myself up every day physically, and trying not to be cranky when I get home because I'm exhausted and tired. And but it
won't last forever. And it's like my mom told me, it's one of the best pieces of advice she ever gave me. And it was because she was telling me what her father, who was a master carpenter, used to tell her as a kid. She said he would say, just pick one up and put one down. And it was kind of that simple. It was just, that's life. You're just picking one up, putting one down, and keep doing it. Yeah. And you get through, you persevere.
I like that.
All right, Christopher, man, I'm glad we did this.
Me too, man.
This was a much better conversation than I expected. Not that I didn't expect much, but I'm always, I think you've got a great blessing for people. So
thank you, Billy. Thanks for having me. I was very happy to have your, invite or to be received.
Right on.
Me asking you, I appreciate that.
Right on.
So,
all right. Yeah. Looking forward to having you back someday. See how your journey goes.
I'll share it.
All right. Thanks a lot, man.